Chris Hunt with us tonight. He's the co-author of Bruce Springsteen, Blinded by the Light. Let me put this to you, that the man is now of such a stature that if there is anybody listening who's saying Bruce Springsteen who, they do well to listen a bit more, because they're definitely out of it at the moment, aren't they? He's the name of the moment, isn't he?
He's the biggest rock star. So, I mean, the current LP sales in England, all his 7 albums are in the top 60, which, and considering Live Aid was out, sort of well publicised last week, all the groups in there have gone up the charts, but Bruce is still number 1.
So that's actually saying something, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The other thing, and the way to mention stardom or to measure stardom, apparently is in the number of bootleg productions of an artist's work. Is that true?
It's true in Bruce's case, for the simple fact he's never ever released a live album. It doesn't really look like he's keen to release a live album, whether he'll succumb to a bit of pressure. Maybe.
Well, you're the one who says the performance is the best.
Yeah.
Far better than the studio.
But although obviously I've listened to bootlegs, and Bruce is quite right. Even a great bootleg, and there are some very good ones, I must admit, they still can't compare with actually seeing him and hearing him.
No. Is this a guy, to do a bootleg, teaches the whole trade, but is this a guy literally walking in with fairly sophisticated equipment, but looking domestic, and then just recording?
Well, bootlegs come in many forms and guises. In the book there's possibly about 120 listed, which was everyone up to press day. So there are apparently some new ones even since. But they come from a plain white insert, ranging from plain white insert with just a stamped plain white label to a super duper deluxe colour label with colour sleeve with label,
which looks better than real, almost.
Which is possibly better than what CBS could come up with.
But they are interesting, aren't they? They are interesting as products. This is the great danger. They may be bootlegs, but they're actually interesting documents.
Oh yeah, they document Bruce's career, and I must admit, without them, my sort of research wouldn't have been quite so in depth. For the simple fact, we know that he did sort of songs like Cupid and Every Time You Walk Out the Room and Pretty Flamingo, simply because of bootlegs from sort of 72 as well, as far back as 71.
Really?
Fact,
so there was someone taking interest that far back, a bit like the very early days of the Beatles, and someone walking in the cabin.
Oh yeah, well in Bruce's sort of folklore, it's obviously, you might not know, it's Asbury Park and the Upstage Club, and he was quite big on the shoreline with a group called Steel Mill, and you actually see in the book there are photographs of Bruce with his hair a la Peter Frampton's.
Really?
Oh yeah. And but even then, people he was a big cult. He had a big cult following, and it's just grown.
Yes, you see, that's interesting again. Let's go back in history if we can, and a little bit about Bruce Springsteen himself. When was he attracted to performing? Was he always a performer?
Oh yeah, he's never had a job as such.
I love it. It's not a proper job, you mean?
Not a proper job. Ever since he was 15, 16, he joined his first band, Castiles, and he's gone from strength to strength, but he's always been involved with music.
What sort of background does he come from? I mean, a musical family or what?
No, his parents were of Dutch-Irish descent, and no known musical background. No, it's just something Bruce got into his head that this is what he wanted to do. First time he's quoted many a time, he saw Elvis Presley on the Ed Sullivan Show, and Elvis is great, and Bruce obviously got the same reaction, that gut reaction, and he wanted to be the next.
So it was Elvis that started him?
Oh yeah.
You mentioned Cupid, and that means Sam Cooke, and that was a seed for a lot of musicians. Now, what other things went into the music?
Well, influences.
Yes.
It was the early 60s English groups, mainly Searchers, Manfred Mann, The Animals, people like that.
Because you were saying he recorded Pretty Flamingo himself.
Well, he's never actually recorded
bootlegged. It was bootlegged. Yes,
Yeah.
it was. He performed pretty.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I wasn't confused the two. I'll have
No,
someone
no.
on the back, I'm sure. And then Manfred Mann went and did Blinded by the Light, for
Yeah,
instance.
yeah,
So it's a total swap round and a beautiful irony to the whole thing.
Full circle. Yeah, he was influenced by the Manfred Manns of their day and the Hollies, people like that. Yeah. 10 years later, Alan Clark, Manfred Mann, they are in turn being influenced by Bruce Springsteen, which is...
Do you like that idea?
Yeah. And not only that, Bruce sort of helps out with his the origins of rock and roll, where he helped Gary U.S. Bond sort of put together his two very, very good albums. So Bruce not only harks back to the past, but he's got a reverence for it as well.
Yeah. But it seems he's not a recluse now, not a musical recluse, that he goes around and he helps other people as well, or that he mixes in with other people.
Oh yeah. Well, he did do the last sort of 2 or 3 years. He hasn't done quite so much that, but oh yeah, he's not afraid to go back to his roots. He's never been afraid of that.
I know you don't talk about lifestyle, which immediately gets me wildly suspicious. I mean, I know it's genuinely held feeling of yours, but what about the lifestyle? What does a man? I mean, how does he live? Does he live in a very wealthy way? Any idea?
Well, again, I see another fairly interesting point of this book is it's been basically the Bruce files have been put together in the middle of, we'll say, Solihull, which is 3,000 odd miles away from where Bruce lives and sort of his day-to-day life. He still lives in New Jersey. So, to be quite honest, I mean...
You just don't know?
I don't know that much about him, but I mean, having said that, I've got sort of clippings that go back to 70, 71. And that side of things has never ever really appealed to me.
You see, that I can't understand, because, yes, or general richness, or whether he lives behind high walls, or whether the same sort of Elvis things are happening, whereas he gets more famous, the walls get higher, or he gets more neurotic, or whatever, I don't know.
Well, a lot of fans are sort of discussing that at the moment. They're sort of saying, well, what's going to happen now? Now he's married, he's recently got married. Will he cut himself off completely? Because sort of back to 82, 83, he was sort of turning up in New Jersey bar joints, hold 200 or 300 people, and regularly getting up on stage and performing 6, 7, 10 songs.
You seem to be hinting that that's what fed his music as well, that being right on the street like that actually helps the music along as well.
So it will be interesting to see what married life does to
Are you
Bruce's
saying?
music.
Are you going to say it could make it more plastic? That there he is stuck in a house, with all the usual
no,
of marriage and swallows up the wall and things.
No, the great thing about Bruce Springsteen is in 1980, 81, when he got popular, very popular with the River Tour, I thought then maybe he's going to cash in, record 11 pop songs, but what did he do? 12 months, 18 months later, out came Nebraska, a totally solo album, which floored a lot of people. It's my favourite album of Bruce's. But he more or less said, this is my music. I'm not going to be influenced by what you want, basically. He's going to churn out what Bruce wants, which I thought was great. He could have so easily cashed in on his success of 80, 81, but he didn't. He refused.
Taking the easiest path, you mean, instead of going along the sort of thing he believed in?
Yeah, well, no.
Well, either that's or he's pig-headed, one or the other.
He's a very stubborn man.
Is he? Is he?
Yeah. Well, he certainly seems that way. If Bruce wants a particular song, the sort of material he's given away to other people, which he's never ever released himself, sort of must indicate that he's not happy with a certain part of that song, and he won't release it to the fans who, via bootlegs, obviously sometimes get to hear some of this stuff. But songs like Fire, Because the Night, he's never ever released. He must be quite stubborn not to commercial material like that, not to put it out.
Right, okay. We'll talk some more in a couple of moments' time, if we can.
Right.
Chris Hunt with us, the co-author of a book called Bruce Springsteen, Blinded by the Light. And I mentioned once at the beginning, Chris from Solihull. Far cry from New Jersey and everything, isn't it? And have you got, if we can't probe his personal life, we'll probe yours certainly, have you got a sort of room, a sort of Brucey shrine or anything like this?
Well, it's never been a shrine. My mother sort of puts up with it remarkably well.
Bruce Springsteen, she says, does she?
But yeah, I collect everything, and it is based at home. Yes.
How do you keep up with all the news? I mean, because it must come in, and it must be contradictory too. And now he's getting famous. It must be slightly scurrilous, but they must be poking round now.
Oh yeah. Well, since Born in the USA got released, it's still #1 after 12 months in the album charts. He's possibly been on about 100 different front covers of magazines, which is part of the collecting. Single-wise, he's had sort of 3 or 4 blaster mixes, disco mixes, whatever you want to call them.
And you collect all those as well?
They all have to be collected.
They all have to be collected, I love the way, yes. Yeah.
And then they come from as far afield as South Africa, Canada, Japan. And you can sort of say there's 3 or 4 different versions of Dancing in the Dark, you know, the 12-inch, the 7-inch, the picture bag, the promotion copies. And they all have to be logged.
And cover versions by other artists too. Now, I mean, what do you make of that? Do you despise them or what?
No, gosh, no.
Gosh, no.
No, it's great.
You might have said rubbish. I mean, I don't know why you say gosh, no. You could have said, oh, they're rubbish, but you quite approve.
Oh yeah. You know, anything like that. I mean, if Bruce doesn't release a song, then it's great to hear somebody else's version of it.
I'm with you, yes. Yeah. Do you like any other artists as well, or are you just single-minded now?
Oh, no. I'm a big fan of Tom Waits, if you know him.
Yes.
Terry Allen, Townes Van Zandt. They're mainly American. Nick Drake, who's...
Any connection at all with the Bruce Springsteen thing there, or is it just you happen to like them because you like them?
I just like what I like, basically, but Bruce is the centre pin of it all. But no, I mean, possibly at home I've got about 700-800 albums.
When you're 70, in 3 or 4 years' time, and things, what are you going to be thinking? Are you still going to be sort of walking around with your walking stick then, you know, tapping out your pipe on the mantelpiece and talking about Bruce Springsteen? I wonder, you see.
Well, you never know what life's got in store, I must admit. But
can you ever see the attraction fading?
No, not certainly not at the present. No.
Can you ever? Well, I mean, you must have people say, because you are so ardent in the admiration. Now, the book I can understand. That's fine. That's just good scholarly work and done out of enthusiasm. But to talk to you, you are very enthusiastic about Bruce Springsteen. Does anyone ever say, "Cool, what a strange man"?
Well, my wife used to. That's, no, it's just that Bruce Springsteen. It's just I was glad I was part of it when it started to happen in '75, and I've always felt that sort of. I've always loved music. I used to love Elvis Presley, and then I was sort of looking for something. Once Elvis went into the movie soundtracks, there was a big void in my life, and I was looking for some kind of music. Dylan was great, but I hadn't followed him from the beginning, and this Paul Taverner lent me this record, and
that was it. So you're saying if Bruce, I was stop calling you Brucey. I only say it to sort of chide you, really. If Bruce were to sort of fade or go into film soundtracks, and you might lose interest and look for a new.
Well, I wouldn't mind if his following did drop off. You know, if he released 3 albums like Nebraska, I'd love it. His following would obviously go down, but that wouldn't bother me.
So let's move to the book. Who's the book designed for?
Well, it's designed for every type of Bruce Springsteen fan.
Every sophisticated person, really, or anyone who'd like to know more.
Yeah, it's a good. We think we've got a very good blend between me and Patrick. Patrick's text, he hasn't been afraid to criticise where he thinks a record isn't as good or as strong as something. Patrick will say, myself, you know, there are a few things of Bruce's I don't, really like. So between the two of us, I think we've got a really good blend.
Certainly the timing's perfect, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, it could have...
Come on, you weasel. Yes, the timing's perfect.
Right.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. Well, I think it's very interesting indeed. Thanks ever so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And I'm on Fire by what's his name? Damned if I can remember now. Thank you very much indeed to Chris. Something tells me you're quite keen on Bruce Springsteen. Now then, the book is entitled Bruce Springsteen, Blinded by the Light. Bruce Springsteen, Blinded by the Light. It's by Patrick Humphries and Chris Hunt. Bruce Springsteen, Blinded by the Light, by Patrick Humphries and Chris Hunt.